to see you again. Haven't seen you for quite a while.
We've been so busy, the both of us.
We have been so busy. I've seen loads of stuff that you're involved in going on. All looks really positive. Really grateful you want to come onto the podcast. And I'm going to jump straight into it. And I know we were talking a little bit off camera, but can you remember where we first met?
I feel like I've known you forever. I feel like that. You have
say
that
that
energy,
everyone.
that vibe. No, actually,
I can tell.
No, but it was on Gap, I think, when we properly met and had the privilege of working together on that. And I love that. I miss that. It's one of my favourite projects ever. I really miss working on Gap with you and contributing to Gap. I think
it was that when I first met you, because you were delivering the community development module for the year-long Gap programme, you and Heather, when you were at the council.
Love that, but we know each other before.
I know. I think what it was, I went to school with someone that lives up next to you, Gemma,
that's it.
and I think there was some connection with your mates of her, and I noticed that you two
our children are friends.
And then suddenly you turn up. I was like, hang on a minute, you know of me? Why not?
Yeah. We're both on the ground in different spaces, and I guess that's another connection.
Yeah,
we know.
Does she work at a university as well?
She works in UWE. She works at another university, but our friends are... Me, I work across all different spaces.
We go across boundaries.
But you know me, I'm like that. So I just prefer to work with everyone.
That's the way it should be.
She's great. Our children are friends. They've been for a long time, so...
How many kids have you got now?
3.
3?
Yeah.
How many shit? She got like 4, hasn't she?
She's got 4, yeah. House is full. Yeah.
Anyway, this isn't your podcast, Gemma, so we're going to crack on. Good to see you sometime. I will see you sometime. So, look, I'm really interested to find out more about what it was like for you growing up.
Yeah.
And your story, really, because I think your story really, really interlinks probably with the stuff that you've ended up doing professionally since then.
Yeah.
And let's jump straight into it. So, what was it like for you growing up? Positives, negatives, and however you want to express that.
Yeah, I think it's looking back at my past, at my childhood, I think there's definitely a deep connection between my journey as a child and my experiences and how that shaped my career and my career motivations. So I always, when someone asks me about who I am or where I'm from or my childhood, I always say I'm Kurdish. Being Kurdish it's my heart. I say that I'm a daughter of Kurdistan because so I was born into a nation that is oppressed for more than a century. Our land we had a country that has been divided into 4 now. Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey own each part of Kurdistan. Each of those Kurdistans, they occupy those spaces, aside from the one that I'm from, which is South Kurdistan, that is now in Iraq. And we had a bit of a revolution, and we got KRG, Kurdish Regional Government, out of that. So that's sort of like semi-autonomous within Iraqi government. So what happened is, living as a child born in Kurdistan, there was a lot of genocide and war, and just being born into that was just normalized into my life. And it's not until you're an adult you realize there's so much like trauma and learning and really a lot of self-work that you have to put in to make your own life better, to process a lot of things. So actually, when I was about 6 or 7, we left Kurdistan. We fled what was a very dangerous life for us as a persecuted Kurdish family. My parents survived a lot, wars, genocide, a lot. So I feel really privileged that it was because of them and the Kurdish ancestors before them that they fought for me to be alive. So I feel like they kind of passed the baton on to me. And I am trying in different ways in my life, whatever I do, whatever I touch, whatever projects I do, I'm just trying to pass the baton on to someone else to be part of creating more opportunities and a better life for whoever I'm working with or whatever environment I work in. So we fled, we were displaced, and we came to London. We had some family in London, so they took us under their wing. Grew up in London as well, South London. Shout out to South London. Love South London. South London, and then 2010, 2011, got married, married into a Colombian family, so it spiced up my life even more. And we moved to Bristol. moved to Whitchurch, did not have a great experience.
Whitchurch?
I know.
South Bristol, massive. I did not expect that.
I don't have a great experience there, to be honest with you.
Go on, let's hear more.
It was horrible. It was not nice.
In what way? In what way?
Islamophobia and racism. It was not nice. I felt it deeply. I know that doesn't happen everywhere, so I'm just...
No, but your experience is your experience.
Yeah, it was not nice. And then we were looking for other places to live, and lots of people said, hey, don't move to St. Paul's, don't move here. Well, it just took one visit to St. Paul's for us to feel...
Did you fall in love?
Language. We loved it. We heard different languages. We had children laughing. It was just, it looked so vibrant and diverse that we knew that we'd fit right in with the kind of family that we were creating. So that's been the story ever since 2011. We've loved it there.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm guessing where you were brought up in London, it was probably very multicultural.
Yeah.
And then
I was used to
I can only imagine how completely different that is to Whitchurch. Nothing wrong with Whitchurch, but obviously the diversity is limited.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, that would have been
and I can understand
a shock to the system.
Yeah.
You could maybe argue for both sides, but it shouldn't be like that, should it?
It shouldn't be. And I really, really hope that, and I can understand when people feel some way with newcomers coming into their environment. But I have hope. I have hope in this sort of dark world that we can be part of making spaces better. All you need is a cup of tea sometimes, and just works.
I offered you when you didn't want it. You turned me down. You said I got my Lucasade. Do you know? Like, I don't want to go off on one because it can happen. I just think there's something about. If you look across South Bristol and you look at the demographic, right, and it is a lot different than what it used to be. There's definitely people from different cultures, different backgrounds, people with different colours, shapes, sizes, the whole shebang. But it's obviously a lot less than other, and it's because it's not transient here.
Yeah.
There's no work here.
Yeah.
There's not really much reason, like the housing. I don't know what the policies are for the council housing and all the rest of it. I don't know if that has changed, but you do see different, places and people in different places, different colours and nationalities now. It's a lot more obvious. So I'm guessing there's probably maybe a change in policy on housing. But if you don't get to know people through relationship and through connection, you'll never know. If you've only ever known white, working class.
Yeah, or you've only ever known your own.
You've literally never known anything else.
Yeah.
You've just not known it.
You don't know it.
It's the fear.
Understandable.
Exactly
it's the fear of the unknown. Yeah.
If you've just moved somewhere from multicultural London, and then you're like,
it's a whole new world, isn't it?
And and how do you suddenly feel like you fit in? Well, obviously it take a lot of time, but that whole time,
and you need to find spaces to gather in those communities. So, when we create new spaces, where's the transport system? Where's the places for gathering? Where's the just continuous offers to different communities, consistent offers where different types of people can gather. And I always think music and food is the answer. Bring people together around that, and you can help to shape and build spaces, and that's why I'm hopeful. I just think we have to ride with hope when there's so much working against your average person in terms of policies, nationally, internationally, unjust laws that we see being rolled out. And I just think people power sometimes can turn things around. That's my hope.
Do you know what I mean? I think I probably told you this, but ages ago when we started doing Gap, I'd literally I think my partner Heather, she got me for Christmas as well or something. It was what's it called? It's basically where you look into your kind of your ancestry.
Oh, did you DNA test? Did you do it?
Well, let's just say. Right, the shock that you got when you went to Whitchurch was like the shock I got when I seen the DNA thing come back. It was like 40% Scandinavian. Who knew? I thought it was like 100% Somerset, Bristol.
Wow.
Boom.
No, I could see it.
Generations. Well, you can say it now, but when it said, but I was like, what the heck? Wow. The other biggest one was Northern European, which is like Germany, Holland, Netherlands, that kind of area. Then the next one was Scotland, which is 20th. Then the next one was Iberian, Spanish, and Portuguese. And the smallest part
No way.
Was it English?
No way. You're
1%. And now, the reason why I'm saying this, right, because I've seen that and I was just like, and I can see through the ancestry thing that, you know, we got generations back to like 1600s, Somerset, Bristol, Dorset. So it's literally all country bumpkins for I don't know how long.
Mr. International.
But when you know, so this is what I'm getting to, it's a long-winded way of getting to this. If we all knew from the get-go, 7, 8, 9, if everyone done one of those tests, and they suddenly knew that we're all from everywhere, because there's just no way that we can't be.
Yeah.
We absolutely are all this rich tapestry of life on this planet.
Yeah.
Surely that might then really sink people's minds into like, okay, so we're all in it together.
Yeah, that would completely shift some mindsets to just know that you're a bit of everything. And if
it wouldn't matter what you might get. You might get bigoted views and stuff when you're growing up and you hear that. But actually, it's just like, well, sorry, granddad, dad. You know, you're flipping part African or you're whatever. So
the world is your home and everything belongs to everyone. And I think if we see it as that, then you just take a step back and you really look into yourself, and I think you have a more kind of view of the world and people and animals within it, you know, and all other creatures that
now we're getting onto something. That's what we are, part of the animal kingdom, aren't we? But because of other certain movements that we've got and the creativity, suddenly we've shaped the world.
Yeah, and I think also like there's higher powers dividing us, and that's the aim of the game, you know. And I think when I meet, for example,
when you say higher powers, are we talking now religion, or are we talking?
We're talking
just.
I mean, nationally, I'm talking global powers at the moment. That governments, yes, that are busy conducting wars and genocides, whilst they give the rest of us scraps, and while they turn us against each other.
That's the macro. There's a micro version in cities as well, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. So macro, micro. There is both, and sometimes they're linked, sometimes they're not. But I always use that sort of reminder to remind myself that actually the people on the ground suffering, some groups might turn against each other in terms of, you know, we could all be working class, but it could be disabled people facing cuts. It could be immigrants facing uncertain futures. And those are unfair, maybe laws or ways of working that are being put top down on those types of groups. And then you see those groups dividing, turning against each other, and I just think actually
it's a tool though. That is a tool.
Division,
I mean, we've seen it in America very recently, haven't we? So it's like,
and I mean, there's the result of that is riots in the country.
Divide and conquer.
People like me being told to go home, and I'm here saying, hey, I can't actually go home, you know, and this is my home.
This is your home.
Listen, I love fish and chips.
Do you know what I
mean, I'm British enough, right? Do you know what I mean? When
Argos is the Pence Bedminster, get in there.
Fish and chips, queuing. I love queuing up now. If I go to another country where there's no queuing, I get disorientated. That makes me British, huh?
You are what? You are an Anglophile. Unlucky.
No, but you know, I think we have to stick together and work together. We proved it last year in St. Paul's with the dentist campaign. That was a people-led campaign. I think when it's all, you're up against it as communities and people, there's only one way back up. You have to rise up.
But it's got to come from the grassroots up. It's got to come from the bottom up. Otherwise, there's, dictation, which isn't based on necessarily the reality of what's needed. And I'm sure we're going to get into a whole lot of this now. I mean, I'm interested, like going back a little bit. So you moved to Bristol. You said you studied before. What was it that you studied? Because I want to get your pathway to what you've ended up doing now and how that, if it might not even interlink, I don't know.
Who knows? And who knows where I'm going? Who
knows? Well, isn't it exciting?
It is exciting. And actually the exciting part is the unknown, what is still to find out and do. So, so I'm from a background where education was always important to us. We were stripped of education and opportunities when, a lot of stuff happened to Kurdistan. And we had education, we had work. My parents had great jobs, but then that is just stripped away from you. You come here and it's nothing. You're nothing. Nothing translates. Degrees don't translate. Jobs don't translate. So my parents were in their 30s.
Could they speak English as well? Can you say about
none
translate?
of us could speak English. We couldn't speak English. So I was a child interpreter for them.
Wow.
And it was, looking back now, it was just so unhealthy. I don't know who thought that was okay in terms of authorities. I used to translate so much for my parents around, being homesick, mental health, just so much that was inappropriate for a child to translate. But in that moment, you're trying to,
I'm sure your parents must be a little bit like as well, when they're, whatever the things that are getting asked of them, so knowing that it's going through you, they must have really kind of just like, I can't say this, I can't say that, I can't, or maybe they did, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both. And I think in hindsight, you just reflect on it all as well. They reflect on that and I reflect on that. And it's just, maybe I was the safety net for them as well. And I picked up English quicker, as you do as children sometimes. So yeah, it was the Biff, Kip and Chipper books, if you remember them.
The what?
You know the Biff, Kip and Chipper, I don't know what the main characters were.
Was that in Beano or something?
It was...
The bit comic?
No, it was really simple books with like 3 or 4 words on each page.
I didn't read much.
Okay, I bought that set for my children,
right?
Just because I reminisce. I will. They were great books. They were so simple. So I used to get taken out of class with this. I forgot her name. With this elderly teacher, and she would just read those books with me. And before you knew it, I picked up English. I think she changed my life. She was one of the people that changed my life.
Do you remember her name?
No, but I remember my class teacher, Miss Chand. And if I could find Miss Chand now, I would find my way to the other teacher.
What school was it? Because someone who would be random, you never know.
Selling Court Primary School in Tooting in London.
Okay.
And Miss Chand was my teacher in year 4, and she obviously hooked me up with this reading teacher. She was great. She was so patient. It was consistent every day, every week. And before you knew it, I was, getting on with it, learning English quite fast. And we, finished primary, went into secondary, did GCSEs. Went into university, City University in London. Things were cheaper then. Things were way cheaper degree-wise. I was working part-time. There was access to grants. So it really did work out for me. I had, in some ways, some privileges there to have access to some support. And I got a sociology degree. And then I went to Brunel for a master's in social and cultural research. So there is some connection.
It's definitely connected
to my career. Yeah. And then I was working part-time in McDonald's to fund my transport. So
many people, McDonald's, people can say what they want about McDonald's, but so many young people have been able to utilise that as a it has to be a stepping stone, but
it does help. And actually, I would recommend jobs like that to really teach you work ethic. Sometimes it teaches you what really standing on your foot is physically, It's hard work. And credit to everyone that works in those spaces. It is hard work. It's hands-on, so you actually feel tired at the end of the day. So I had a couple of jobs like that in retail. And then when I finished my master's, moved to Bristol.
Can I ask a quick question just before that? When you were growing up then, did you, in London where you were, was there a sense of community where there was was there youth clubs, youth projects, or were you very close? It was it was family, we're together.
Yeah.
Education is the tool to do what you want to do, really do that. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was lots of different spaces and groups like that. They were community groups and spaces.
But did you access them?
I didn't access them. I think my parents didn't know about them.
Right.
But looking back now, I knew there was like extracurricular stuff on after school. And my parents were, they were at that point working on themselves and getting their qualifications back that they had in Kurdistan. So once we were all in school and college, they started building up their profiles again. So now they were both in, your average 9-to-5s again. So really, I did go to Sunday classes where I was learning Arabic because that's also, as a Muslim, that's a very important language to us. So that I just went on the bus across London myself for that. Me and my sister used to get on the bus and just get on with that. I did, tennis club after school, things like that. But I do think sometimes now when I'm in communities in the civic space for work, and I'm, for example, in the micro campus in the university that I work at, I'm right next door to Bristol Refugee Rights. And I often think, if only my parents knew about such spaces when we were younger, how could that have changed our lives for the better at a faster speed? or what more
Well,
opportunities.
it would have opened maybe more support, maybe
support.
more opportunities, maybe meeting other like-minded people. Well, I only asked the question because obviously you've gone on to do various different things, which you explain now around community, and it's about how you kind of did you experience that as a young person, or is this something you've come to later on? So I guess we're going to go on to that now. You come to Bristol. What was your next steps?
We started growing our family. When I left London to Bristol, then I unexpectedly we got pregnant with our first, and I took time out. I always wanted to be a mum. I always wanted to know. I knew that I always wanted to give time to my children. Their solid first years. Also, childcare was so expensive. So expensive.
Isn't that the truth?
It's ridiculous. Accessible local childcare was so scarce that it was a decision to make that it was a difficult decision to make because I wasn't bringing in an income at that time.
But you'd have to bring in quite a big income for it to outbalance what you pay for the child.
And then it ended up, I did a few years like that, and then the second child came along. So there's 2 years and 2 months in between each one. By the time I was pregnant with the second one and she was born, that's when...
Exactly, 2 years, 2 months.
Somehow.
Calendars.
Listen, I'm glad I got it out of the way, Ben, to be honest with you, because now it's like time for me, it's time for me for my rebirth now. My kids are old enough. They're more independent now, so they go about their day. But what happened is when my middle one was about a year and a half, that's when I started getting back into work. And the first job I got into was a research job for Bristol Women's Voice.
Okay.
And then a finance role came up there, and I had no background in finance. So I thought, let me do this. Right? I just, thought let's try something different. So I did that for a bit, and then in the meantime, along the side, I was doing a bit of volunteering, created a community garden in my community, sat on a couple of different boards. I just went into different spaces to try and find who am I now and what am I interested in post-children, because I had all these questions about myself post-children. Who am I? Who am I without the children? When they're physically not with me, who am I? And that was a difficult space to be in.
In what sense? As in finding out about yourself, or is it how you were treated by others or accepted or not? I don't know.
It was about really thinking about who I am and what I want to do and focus on career-wise or for my, hobbies that had nothing to do with my children. Because at that point, the children became the center of my world, and everything I did was either for them, with them, or where I went was always dictated by what time I need to come back to pick up the children. So it was disconnecting myself from the children and really finding about who I am now and narrowing down the routes that I want to go down in terms of a career. And I remember there was Barbara Disney, a wellbeing, an artist in the community. She had wellbeing groups in St. Paul's Children's Centre. And I went to one of her groups because she had a creche. So I thought, yes, it's a win-win now. I've got a creche, I can do some wellbeing for myself, wellbeing activities. And I sat in the first session and Barbara asked me to make something, do anything, make anything. And I struggled because I was straight away going into action. I was doing a painting for my children and she stopped me and she said, don't do anything for your children, just think about yourself. And I said, Barbara, I don't know what to do for myself. And I'm really creative. In that moment, everything went blank. And she just gave me a cup of tea. And then a really good friend of mine now, and actually she wasn't a friend then, all I felt was someone just massaging my shoulders. It was another mum in the same space as me, going through the same things as me. She massaged my shoulders and I had a cup of tea. And everything just slowed down for me in that moment and I started reflecting more. And it was in that group that I had some time to think and really be. And from then on, I think, they became a pattern in my work. I guess community engagement being a part of it, and then equalities and working through intersectional lens. So that actually, yes, after Bristol Women's Voice, I did a couple of research projects for them, which were around, barriers that women face in their career, marginalized women in their career and aspirations related to their career. And then a bit of finance work for them, a bit of International Women's Day event planning, comms, all different types of things I got involved in there. And then I moved from there to the network. That was community work in Ashley Ward. And then from there to Bristol City Council community engagement. And that was with like a race equalities hat on. And then from there to University of Bristol civic engagement in Temple Quarter. So I'm in a happy place, at the moment.
That sounds like quite a journey. Like, like that doesn't just happen. You've obviously made that happen.
It's a lot of hard work, actually.
Yeah, well, it must have been.
While I was trying to raise a family, and my priority always been my family. There is always a priority of my family, but I also like to prioritize myself and my career. And if there's opportunities around, I like to tap into it and take advantage of them. Because once I bring myself into that space, I always like to bring in others like me who feel marginalized in those types of spaces. So when I make way for myself, sometimes tapping into those environments is actually difficult. But then my end goal, what drives me is, look, if I'm in, I can bring others in with me. So I just go for it. And the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out. That's how I see it. Yeah.
You've got to be in it to win it, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's not even about what you win in it. It's about, like you said, the opportunity for others as well.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the thing from your learning through that process of those different roles? You've obviously picked up lots of different skills, lots of different knowledge. What is it you think really drives community to a point that, people feel like they belong, they feel like collectively they can make a difference? Because I think this is the thing, it's slightly different, different people we talk to have got different backgrounds. What would you say are those things that stand out for you that really support that?
What makes someone like me feel belonging, a sense of belonging?
Or people within, so the skills and the knowledge that you've picked up over those different roles and working in different places and different communities.
Yeah.
What do you think are the things that really bring people together most and help them feel like they belong?
Yeah, so I think people come around together most of the time over a matter that concerns them or their community, whether it affects them in a negative way or something. Let's say a dentist, right? The dentist campaign, let's use that as an example. There was a dentist in that area and it was closing down, and it brought some of us together. Some of us initiated those gathering spaces. But the idea was to bring everyone around together to campaign for something that matters to us, which is our teeth, our health. How can you smile if you don't have good, healthy teeth? So that affects your mental health. That affects how happy you are in your community. That affects whether you go to other groups and spaces, communal spaces in your community, because you just don't feel confident about talking because you're in pain, or you don't feel confident physically to smile because you don't feel happy with the way your teeth look. People gather around matters that affect them and their communities. And what makes you feel like you belong in those spaces is if there's someone that is like-minded next to you, or someone that comes in, in big institutions, there's always one or two or three. Once you look, you will find your allies. So whether you bring your allies from above or next door to you or from really grassroots on the ground, I think that creates a sense of belonging when you can put all those people around the table and then leave some spare seats around the table so that if someone walks past, they can see that seat and say, hey, what's going on? Is this about the dentist? I want to be in that space. And then you welcome them in. And I think it's also, what I've also learned sometimes is it's not about me. I might be a driver, good at driving, but if I'm doing a campaign and let's say I'm good with my online presence or calling people out through the media, using whatever channel I can, to really drive things, and I'm proactive. There's someone else that can make noise in a different way to me. Maybe they're an artist and they can sing what I'm shouting about, so bring the different assets together from micro to macro. I think when you can find your allies in those spaces and bring them around the table, I think that creates a sense of belonging on a matter that matters to those around the table. And then you've invested in those people in a way that brings them around together equally around the table. And then you can drive that struggle, fight, campaign. But I've also learned that being a driver in those types of spaces is you need rest, and rest is resistance. You know how that feels, and it's hard for me to rest sometimes, but I am learning. I'm learning from those older than me, those that have passed before me, that they went all their life and they lasted all their life, being a campaigner, being an activist, if you want to call it that. But they also had an element of joy and music and togetherness that they had throughout their life. And the older I'm getting, the more I'm understanding the importance of that. And also sometimes stop and pass the baton to someone else in that moment if you need rest. So,
something you just said then, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's different people, I mean, there's lots of different principles and practices in loads of things. So, like ABCD, community development, take what is strong, not what is wrong, all that kind of stuff. But then I hear you, and I've always thought that when I've, don't get me wrong, the stuff that we do, we just take what we think works best from lots of different ways of working. Because you don't have to just believe in one thing and be like, I am a disciple of that and I believe in just that. So when you were saying there's something wrong, isn't there? There's a shared kind of understanding of something that isn't working well. And then there's the drive for people to want to make a difference.
And they know themselves what works. People from their communities knows what works for their communities. So, sometimes I'm in spaces where we're having the bigger conversations and institutions and we're trying to find answers. How can we connect with these people? With minority groups, how can we connect with ethnic minority groups? And in my head, I'm thinking actually that I have a different lens in a way, because I think they're global majority. They're not a minority, they're a global majority. So we need to shift that thinking. And also, why are we asking this question here? Let's go on the ground, because people are there. All you have to do is walk through a community and find people and meet them. So, just go on the ground and talk to people. That's what it always comes down to for me as well.
Do you, I'm going to going off track again, but whatever.
It's fine.
Do you feel like inclusion has improved across the board, however you want to take that, since you moved to Bristol and you started working within community organisations or the council? Do you think that has improved or not? Well,
I think one of my measures to that is, can I now tap into spaces that I couldn't 10 years ago? That's a yes. But I think some of that is down to me, because if I don't find the chair, I'll pull myself up a chair. That's just what I'm like. While I think we are inclusive, we have ways of bringing people together. We can create inclusive spaces in communities. For example, in City Hall, we can bring groups together, different types of groups.
I've never thought that kind of stuff's happened a lot. Like that's not enough, is it? It's just a bit tokenistic. Oh, come and see this place. You could be here tomorrow.
And that's what I always ask when I'm in those spaces. I do ask. I go to those spaces and I find that I am actually continuously asking in those spaces, what about everyone else that's not here? Why can't you have this meeting in communities? And also, I do think generally, we, as different agencies, we do, and larger organizations, we do partner with the usual large VCSE sector organizations.
But why do you think that would be then?
Because sometimes that's the only way you've known, and that's your way into other organizations. But I do think there's something being missed here. And that's why I keep saying to people to go on the ground and really walk through the community and meet people on the ground, because there are grassroots groups, there's very small CIC groups that I've been involved with, sort of their creation.
Are you talking about grassroots communities by any chance?
One of them.
No, you might.
But there are several groups that they struggle to tap into funding that larger organizations get. And they really do the frontline work on the ground. And although I'm not in community development as such, I'm still involved in supporting those groups. And as long as they're turning to me for support that I think they should be tapping into elsewhere, for example, in the council, I still think there's that work to be done. And for them to really do that inclusion work properly to the bottom of the ground. And I think there's missed opportunities in that. And I think the danger is that we keep working with the people that we know, and we're maybe widening inequity. So if we're working with the groups that we're familiar with, what happens to the ones on the ground doing the work, and how do we bridge the gap between them and the larger organizations? So I think there's more work to be done. I think also is one thing working towards inclusion and equality, but then there's something taking it from equality to equity.
I think it's
there's a
taking it
big
to
change.
reality.
Yeah, and social justice and liberation,
And
if we're
actually
really going
happening.
there.
I'm not saying it isn't happening. I mean,
There's vast divides. Look at Ashley Ward. I'm from Ashley Ward, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm in St. Paul's. Montpellier's 5 minutes up the hill.
Mm.
They couldn't be any different in terms of the opportunities and the life opportunities the children in Montpellier have compared to St. Paul's. So I do think sometimes there's certain people in it that make a big difference. So, for example, we have our green councillors, 3 green councillors in St. Paul, in the Ashley Ward, and they base themselves in the Green Melon because they want to be present.
Is that the Green Melon still
Green
going?
Melon, yeah,
Green
it's
Melon
turned into a
in
little
the
hub
house.
now, community hub.
Oh, wow.
It's very different to how it was before.
Yeah.
But that's where they're there on a regular basis for their surgeries on a weekly basis. And the idea was for them to be more in St. Paul's rather than up the hill.
Centrally in the community.
Yeah, and in the part of the community that's most underserved.
Yeah.
And actually, it was in that shop that the St. Paul's Dentist campaign began, because the dentist was opposite us and we saw it be closing and we were just not having it. So I do think, you know, we can be more intentional. I think people that are privileged and used to comfort, from counsellors to institutions and organisations, they need to make themselves. It's okay to sit on your comfort and privilege.
Why do you think that they? Because I mean, I'm putting it to you, but I mean, I don't think it's going to come as a shock. That, you know, do you think it's because of how? And it's a wider thing, isn't it? How people probably don't feel that comfortable with connecting with people, maybe from, you know, the word class is going to come into this.
Yeah.
Connecting with people that have walked a different life,
yeah, that's what I was just
maybe speak in a different way, maybe have a different education, maybe have a different lived experience of how they've grown up. And then there's bigger organisations which generally will be headed up by people that would be, and again, this is an assumption, but like, I think we can fairly say that a lot more people maybe running those organisations will be more educated, not always, but more educated, maybe from similar backgrounds. And is it something about feeling comfortable? No different than when you were on about actually when you moved to Whitchurch, you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
And then you felt more comfortable in St. Paul's for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But is that the same thing that we're coming up against, where people aren't willing to necessarily take, and it's not even a gamble, it will seem like a gamble to decision makers because they won't be in control, because they won't really know what's going to happen with certain decisions with smaller organisations. But if they base it on evidence,
I think
then it's not a reputation, it's actual practice that's been proven to work. And I think people, exactly what you said earlier, have got to get down and go to people where they are, talk to them, but then they got to actually act on what they hear.
That's where the proof,
instead of just...
Yeah. And that's what people are tired of, you know, continuous door knocking, exhausting, exploiting, asking the same questions year upon year to the same communities that are most underserved. And I think that's not okay. We can't keep doing that.
People give up. That's why people give up. And that's why people don't get the engagement. People worry about people that don't vote and this, that, and that. Why would you vote?
And there's a lack of trust. Like if you keep doing that to people, there's a lack of trust. People don't believe in you anymore. So I think there's a lot of decolonizing work that people have to do in the larger, bigger institutions where decision makers don't look or sound anything like the communities that they're making decisions on behalf of or for. So I think there's definitely some anti-oppressive work and decolonizing that they should do for themselves. But I really do think people need to own their privilege, the ones sitting in decision-making seats. Own your privilege, work through that, because I don't think they realize the value of the seat and position they're holding, and how they, as one person, sometimes can make decisions that can really influence positive change throughout the city or different pockets of the city that are most underserved. And again, you know,
the
words
things
like
aren't
underserved.
working. Don't just keep backing the same thing. Like you need to try something different. Be creative. Go to whoever those different people are.
Just go to the ground. Go to the ground. That's what it comes down to. And go beyond the usual suspects that you know in communities, and go to the ground and talk to people. I
mean, it's fair to say, isn't it? There was a lot of good work happening as well. So we're not just digging out the whole voluntary sector, because that's obviously not fair, and that's not the case. Yeah. But you're right. If you probably look at the bigger funding, say from, I mean, I'm just saying this off the top of my head, the BIF funding, the larger scale funds, I can imagine they probably go to anchor organisations, because if that money doesn't go to them, they've been so used to getting that kind of level of support, suddenly that falls by the wayside. Now that, you don't want those organisations suddenly not existing in Southmead, St Paul's, Artcliffe, wherever it might be, because they do a lot of good work. But what that doesn't support then is the innovation of those green shoots, which are coming up from the ground, where organisations aren't necessarily kind of, and I say this as hamstrung because it's like, there's two arguments to this, because of the amount of staff they have to pay for and the amount of things that they have to do. And the way the voluntary sector is, you just have to do certain things to mean that you can pay for that workforce. But sometimes there are these great things that come up.
Sparks, and glimmers.
And if they're not harnessed,
then
we maybe miss out on solutions.
And those spaces need drivers. They need people to drive them. They need assets. They need people to invest in them, whether it's macro, whether it's micro. You need it, because for you've got a spark, right? For grassroots communities, I've got my spark, and you want to amplify that spark. You want to share that on.
I don't. When I say this, I'm not like leading that towards the stuff that necessarily that we do. But what I'm leading it towards is, for example, you were part of that year-long gap program. We've done other versions since. We've had lots of people show much interest. It is evidence-based. We've got all the evidence. You can shake a stick at. I'm not just saying it. People can see it if they want. What works? It supports young people into situations where they're better to realise opportunities in education and employment, which is the same thing I'm here and talking about now. I've been to different meetings. Merchant Venturers Hall, similar conversation there. Other conversations with people at different universities. Like, people have seen the evidence of this stuff. And that's when you get to a point and you think, I question why that isn't then backed and utilised. And it could be a model that supports others, because they can see that it's worked. And I don't think, I know it's not like a massive, like a conspiracy theory. But then, there's going to be lots of other versions of that in different types of voluntary sector work, where people will feel the same.
I feel the same about something I'm involved in. So I'm involved in something called Nature Rising. So global majority-led environmentalism in Bristol. And it's a struggle to tap into the mainstream environmental sector in Bristol, because it's not diverse, it's not inclusive, and it's not. And most of the funding goes to those groups. And it's a struggle. It's one struggle to tap into those spaces, and another struggle to keep your spark while you're trying to tap into those spaces. So there's only so long you can go trying to tap in.
Until you probably start annoying people because you get frustrated.
And also before you realise, like, I'm putting more energy into that than just getting on with it and doing the little things that I can with what I've got, and then growing that and using that as your own platform to get the next bit of funding in. So that's what we're doing with Nature Rising at the moment. And sometimes I think there's a couple of things that tapping into the, bigger funding that might be more sustainable over time. I think for those funders or larger groups to give funding right to the bottom, grassroots spaces, I think it's risky for them sometimes. And I think, they think, we've not done this before. We don't know this group as well as we know the larger organizations that we're friends with. And I think sometimes these larger funders or institutions need to take a look at themselves and say, it's a risk. All right, let's call it a trial. Let's trial this, Let's trial it. Let's see what happens. What's the biggest thing that it can just go wrong? It's okay. You can trial it. A trial can go wrong. You can learn from that, and you can develop and
so everything works that improves, because nothing is a finished article, is it?
It's 2025. If we can't make things work now, we're going to be having the same conversation in 20 years.
Well, I have been having quite a lot of similar conversations. They're not far off 20 years. But anyway, we won't go there.
More caffeine, please.
That's what Lucozade. No advertising going on. Yeah. What are the barriers to systematic, cultural, or financial that stand in the way of inclusion? So, what are the barriers with systematic barriers, cultural or financial, that stand in the way of people being included?
I think for me, it comes down to all of it. Comes down to diversity of thought.
Which is why...
of any of those people, of anyone that sits in those positions and spaces. So finance, at the top of a structure somewhere, I think is the makeup of those people that sometimes the decisions are not equitable enough to really trickle down to the most underserved communities.
Haven't walked in those shoes.
Yeah, and it makes all the difference. And their understanding of the world might
empathy would be different.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
and maybe their lived experience is very different to ours, so they don't see the barriers that some of us have, or really the level of inequity in a community. And I think, back to inclusive employment, back to opening up our spaces more, back to decolonizing the way you think, anti-oppression work that those people need to do and build it into their practice all the time, so that it's normal practice and not a mandatory training that you do once a year. And you really embody that. And I think then it falls onto people like me to call things out. If you've made it into those spaces, call it out. Call it out during a meeting. If you're uncomfortable, even better, get uncomfortable.
I'm so tempted to say, what have you been calling out? But I don't want to, because that would put you in a situation. Let me ask you that.
I call all kinds of things out.
I don't want to stitch you up.
So yeah.
Let me just save you from that one.
And I also think that the more I'm doing my work, the more I meet allies like me. And there's like some really strong, amazing minds in the university. And all they ever do and want to do is the best for communities that they want to serve better. And when I meet people like that, I think, this is my sanity circle, and it keeps me going, for longer on that mission. So the more I meet people like that, the more I think, yes, there's more of us. And if you stay proactive and consistent in these spaces, you might attract more people to come on that boat with you. And I also think there's people like me who like to rock the boat, and I'll keep rocking until it's more equitable membership,
That's the teaser. Keep rocking.
I'll keep rocking. It's like my hashtag, I'll keep rocking. It's
important, isn't it? And I don't believe for a minute you're just saying it, but it is important, because otherwise, like, nothing changes. Yeah. Things don't change if people aren't, kind of pushing against stuff that isn't right.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, a lot of people will get in a situation where they'll be embedded within any big organisation, whether it be a university, a business, or anything else, where they feel like if they say things that, are going to call people out, it might impact on them and the opportunities for them. And then that's where we end up getting this stagnated pool of people that have got lots of ability and lots of well-meaning, but it doesn't result in action because everyone is just pushing along with what they're told to do. And that
I do think there's another side to it, is how safe you feel within your team, how welcoming your team is, how your team listens to you. Because I have been, before I went to university, funnily enough, I worked in those spaces that I mentioned. And in some of those spaces, it was so oppressive for me as a woman, as a Muslim woman, as a Kurdish person, as a combination of all of those, as a mother, parent. And I felt like I couldn't really be myself. I was thought to be lesser and quieter. In some of the spaces, I was myself, and even more, but in some I wasn't. And I actually feel at the university, as a parent, it's a great space for me. I like to have flexible work. I like to be there for my children if I get the call from school. So there is that space where I feel if I'm in a space like that, I will stay longer in a space like that, and I'll invest more of me in that space because I feel welcomed. And then I also feel like my team loves me. I think they love me, and the feeling is mutual. And I think they open space for me. And I think if I bang on 2 hours about equality and equity and justice, I'm heard. There's things that we build into our practice as a team that makes me feel more heard, that I have some autonomy over some of the activities I want to do or build on, or better practice. I want to roll it out across the team and across different teams. And I think that's why I can bring more of me into this role, and more of, really put my foot down and say, hey, we should be doing this with that community more. There's value in that. Let's go beyond. Let's go deeper. Let's go all the way. I do think work culture makes a difference, team culture.
Well, if you're happy in what you're doing,
yeah.
then you're going to give more, aren't you? You believe it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Actually, you can see it making a difference.
Yeah.
Then you've got everything in front of you that you want to make happen.
And actually, then I feel healthier. I come into work all the time. I show up. I deliver, and I get bigger and louder and prouder rather than the opposite.
People
you know,
around you that people they'll mirror what's going on, won't they? They'll be having similar experiences, and suddenly you build a culture. That
and I feel like I'm literally
impact.
part of that culture. I feel like.
Well, get over to Arcliffe then and get into that microcampus.
Yeah, I feel like I'm also shaping some of that culture. It takes some people to drive that, but change takes time. Change takes time, and
it does,
that's another thing that I'm learning. Stay
You're
patient.
going to love this question.
Oh gosh,
I think this is my
now?
favourite. What advice would you have given your younger self about belonging, building community, and learning?
Then, I was thinking about this the other day and I just started crying. I would say, I'm not going to cry, don't worry.
Well, you can if you want, because you
actually
should
crying
be able
is
to.
great.
Yeah.
What advice would I give to myself? I would say, be patient. Is it one advice? It's kind of hard. It might be a sentence.
You can say a few, but you say what you want. Yeah.
I would say be patient. I would say, whilst you're on that journey of finding those spaces that you belong in, be gentle with yourself. Your sense of identity can change and is fluid over your lifetime. One day it's just you, the next day you're a mother, and your identity is now mother as well. So be patient with yourself. Take time. If you feel like you're tapping into you keep knocking on a door that is not opening, stop knocking for a minute. Go back. Go to a space on a hill. Scream. Let it literally, physically, let it out sometimes. Return to nature. Take your shoes off and touch the ground, because that is the most grounding thing for me that I found now. If something like praying helps, pray. Slow down your day and just pray. Whatever works for you, invest in that in terms of, grounding yourself. Go back and knock on that door. If the door doesn't open, move on to the next door. If you're in a toxic space that's not working for you and you feel like you have to make yourself smaller or quieter, if you can, leave that space. Find another space to be in where you feel celebrated. That's where you'll grow. That's where you find other like-minded people. And that's where you can grow seeds that will enrich your life, that will create more belonging for you, a sense of belonging around you and for your family and community. And I think always return to the positives to fuel you when you're feeling like things aren't working, the world is overwhelming, it's dark, nationally, locally, internationally. So I think, slow down. If you're fighting the fight all the time and you're always trying to tap into community, make the world better, make communities safer, kinder, more inclusive, and it feels like that's going to be a long-term thing that you're doing, I think take the time to slow down regularly, water yourself, nourish yourself so that you can carry on over time, and stop every now and then and look at yourself and like literally celebrate yourself. And if you find that hard, find someone that believes in you, like in your family, and tell them to celebrate you. Sometimes it's like writing your own CV. It's very difficult, but if you ask your friend or your partner, they'll find 100 positive things about you. Yeah. So sometimes, find someone to reflect with, slow down, talk to them, switch off for half a day. Sometimes it's really hard to switch off. To me, it's hard to switch off. I'll come home from work and then I'll work on a campaign that I'm doing with my community in the evenings, and it's really hard to switch off. But I think over time you learn how your body works, and you can stop yourself from doing too much before you reach burnout, And I think for me it's slow down, take time in nature, find the glimmers, wherever those glimmers are. It could be a leaf, it could be, I don't know, the sun, it could be your friends, it could be your favorite food. Find the glimmers, invest in that, get close to that a bit, and then come back to the daily struggle, and go do that in a cycle. I think Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's that. It was a very long answer.
That was wonderful. And I'm not going to ask you what really matters, because that is what really matters.
Yeah.
Look, it's been great chatting to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being so open, so honest. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep banging on the doors.
And you.
I will.
And then we'll find each other when we're done.
One day, maybe the door will open and you'll be there going, come in. We can make this amazing thing happen.
That's the dream. Ultimately, that's the dream. And everywhere I go, I always take those groups and individuals like you with me. And I suggest you, I recommend you wherever I can. So yeah, just know that I'm always with you, whether it's mentally or physically working together. And I look forward to coming back to working with you again.
You could actually work on GAD, couldn't you, through the university? There must be some kind of connection with that. Anyhow,
we'll have that conversation.
We'll leave that there.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.